Hi everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we take those super boring corporate filings and turn them into something you can actually understand. Today we are going to talk about Crescent Energy. Hopefully what we find will be more exciting than a Crescent roll. Crescent Energy just dropped an 8K filing, which is basically an update on major events. We're diving into their recent debt moves, a new set of notes, and seeing what it all means for the company. Are they swimming in cash or just rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic? Let's find out. Are they swimming in cash or just rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic? Let's find out. Before we get started, if you appreciate getting straight insights from corporate documents, make sure you are subscribed. We also have a Discord community linked in the description below. Join us! This report is dated July 8, 2025, so it's pretty fresh information. Okay, so the first big thing is that Crescent Energy Finance, which is like a smaller part of Crescent Energy, made a deal to issue some new notes. Think of notes as promises to pay back money, kind of like an IOU. Now this is important. Crescent Energy Finance issued $600 million, yes, $600,000 of what they're calling 8.375% senior notes. These are due in 2034, meaning they have until then to pay it back. Think of it as a really big loan that they need to pay off in the next 9 years from now in 2025. So let's see what this loan is all about. These notes are basically promises from Crescent Energy Finance to pay back the money they borrowed. These promises are backed by some of Crescent Energy Finance's smaller companies which are guaranteeing this debt. However, the main company, Crescent Energy Company itself, isn't directly guaranteeing these notes. This means that if Crescent Energy Finance can't pay, the lenders can't directly come after Crescent Energy Company's main assets. It's like having a safety net but not a completely foolproof one. Let's see when they have to pay all this money back and how much it will cost them. The note or the debt will be due in January of 2034, so they have some time to figure things out. The interest rate, they're paying 8.375% per year. That's the cost of borrowing the $600 million. So they're paying a hefty amount of interest, 8.375% per year. That's the cost of borrowing the $600 million. So they're paying a hefty amount of interest, 8.375% is higher than they have been in the recent past, making this borrowing more expensive. The first interest payment is coming up in January 2030. First interest payment is coming up in January 2026. Now here's where it gets interesting. Crescent Energy Finance has a few options to pay back this debt early. Before July 2028, they can pay back up to 40% of the notes. If they get enough money from selling some of their stock, they would have to pay a little extra, about 8% more than the original amount borrowed. Also, before July 2028, they have the option to pay back all or some of the notes, but they have to pay a premium, a make-whole premium, basically a fee for paying early. After July 2028, they have the option to pay back all or some of the notes, but they have to pay a premium, a make-whole premium, basically a fee for paying early. After July 2028, they have the option to pay back all or some of the notes, but they have to pay a premium, a make-whole premium, basically a fee for paying early. After July 2028, they have the option to pay back all or some of the notes, but they have to pay a premium, a make-whole premium, basically a fee for paying early. After July 2028, they have the option to pay back all or some of the notes, but they have to pay a premium, a make-whole premium, basically a fee for paying early. In 2028, if they pay back the notes, it will cost them on 4.188% of the original amount. In 2029, it goes down to 102.094%, and by 2030, they can pay off the debt without any extra fees or penalties. There's a clause in the agreement that says if the company has a major change in ownership, what they call a change of control, and if their credit rating goes down because of this change, then whoever holds these notes can force Crescent Energy Finance to buy them back, and they will have to be repurchased at 101. They will be paid back at a higher rate. This section is all about restrictions. Crescent Energy Finance has agreed to a bunch of rules that limit what they can do with their money and assets. For instance, they can't take on too much more debt. They cannot pay out too much in dividends. They can't easily sell off pieces of the company, will do something reckless and be unable to pay back the debt. Here's what happens if Crescent Energy Finance messes up. If they fail to pay interest, break the agreements they made, or go bankrupt, it triggers an event of default. The people holding the notes can then demand all the money back immediately. This situation will also arise if something major happens, like the company goes bankrupt, if a big chunk of the company goes bankrupt. This gives the lenders a way to protect their money if the company starts to go downhill. Okay, so Crescent Energy Finance also announced that they are buying back some of their older debt. They're offering to purchase up to $500 million of their 9.250% senior. notes due in 28. Basically, they're trying to get rid of some older debt with a higher interest rate, about 9%, and replace it with this new debt that has a slightly lower interest rate, about 8%. As of July 7, 2025, a little over $300 million of those old notes have actually been turned in about 30%. So the company accepted those and paid them off on July 9, 2025. This whole section is basically the company saying, we are not trying to trick you into selling debt. Now let's zoom out and look at the big picture here. Crescent Energy is playing a financial game of sorts. And here's my take. The move to issue new notes and buy back old ones is a classic debt refinancing strategy. They are essentially swapping out more expensive debt for cheaper debt. By doing this, they are aiming to lower their overall interest payments, which can free up cash for other things like investments or operations. The downside is that they are still adding to their overall debt load. They also are paying a hefty interest 18,375% if they could have waited to get a lower rate. As interest rates come down this year, they may have saved some money. The restrictions they've agreed to in the new debt agreement, those covenants, are a double-edged sword. On one hand, they protect the lenders, but on the other hand, they limit the company's flexibility. They might miss out on opportunities because they can't move as quickly or invest as aggressively as they'd like to. If there is a big shift in who controls the company and the company's credit rating goes down, this could trigger a situation where the note holders demand their money back, putting Crescent Energy in a tough spot. In conclusion, Crescent Energy is making some smart moves to manage its debt, but they're also taking on additional risk. They need to be careful to balance the benefits of lower interest payments with the limitations and potential risks that come with this new debt. Overall, this is a positive move, however. This could all change depending on management's future strategy. Alright, that's your deep dive into Crescent Energy's latest filing. What are your thoughts on this debt shuffle? Is it a smart play or a risky gamble? Drop your opinions in the comments below. If you found this breakdown helpful, hit that like button and consider subscribing. Don't forget to join our Discord community using the link in the description. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.